Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the February Audit Committee meeting. Before I begin, I'll just run through the usual housekeeping. So can I just check everyone in the room and online can hear me? Yeah, perfect. Online, somebody want to stick a thumbs up if you can hear us? Just remind committee members that if you aren't able to attend the meeting, please can you arrange for a substitute? The agenda pack and papers are all published on the council website and via ModGov. There are two supplements to the agenda pack. Supplement 1, which contains the minutes of the meeting held 30th of January, and supplement 2, which contains a public question time, which has subsequently been withdrawn. I'd like to remind members that when I ask you to speak, please can you state clearly who you are for the benefit of anyone that's listening to the meeting. When speaking, sorry, done that bit. I don't think we've got any members of the public here today or online, as far as I'm aware. No. We're not expecting any fire drills this morning, but if the fire alarm goes off, we're all going to calmly follow whoever's on the end. Out the door. Alice. Yeah, thanks, Alice. Calmly out of the door. Before we start the agenda proper, I do want to say a couple of words, if you can just bear with me for a moment. So, when I took over as the chair of the audit committee in June 2023, it felt like we had a mountain to climb with 11 sets of outstanding accounts. But with your help and no small amount of hard work from the finance team, operating in difficult circumstances with the new finance system, I think we've climbed that mountain. At the same time, we as committee members have seen more than 3,000 pages of written material and helped to deal with the financial emergency. We've done all that we could to clear the backlog, and I can't think of anything we could have done differently which would have prevented the need for a disclaimed opinion on the opening set of Somerset Council accounts. Clearly, this is disappointing for all of us, and later today I'll write to all members to explain the position, because I think that's only right. It is easy for armchair auditors to point fingers and decry a set of declaimed, to decry a disclaimed set of accounts. I see the work of this committee being misrepresented and mischaracterised online quite regularly. So I wanted to say this to anyone that is listening. Audit is a process. You often think of it as a circular cycle, but I think of it more of a 3D spiral where you can either go up or go down. And I'm absolutely fully committed to moving forwards and driving improved performance for the council. The process is to check, to challenge and to change. It is a continuous process, although at various points we do click a button and produce a snapshot in an audit report. It is by its very nature a backward-looking process, but we're looking to implement the recommendations quicker, to have better visibility over progress and to seek out the barriers. It is easy to take that snapshot in time out of context, so I would urge all interested parties to see the bigger picture. We're here to provide a high-level assurance of the governance, risk and reporting arrangements for the council. We've delivered more than 6 years' worth of work in 18 months at a time when neighbouring authorities are yet to sign off the 2019-20 accounts. Clearly, it's disappointing to fall into the national audit backstop, but we have clarity over the opening balances of Somerset Council, which is not nothing. I hope as the government pursues further unitarisation across local government, they think about how they can better support the audit process to ensure that we don't lose sight of its purpose. The backstop was supposed to draw a line under the historic backlog for many councils so that auditors could focus on the most recent set of accounts. We've cleared the backlog, but ironically, it's our most recent set of accounts that suffer as a result. I would like to take this moment to thank our finance team, who've been nothing short of heroic, and for the ongoing cooperation of Grant Thornton as our external audit partners who've remained committed to helping us complete these audits. So I just want to say that at the outset, because this is a meeting I hope we never have with a disclaimed opinion, but unfortunately we are where we are. So moving on to the formal agenda. Okay. Moving on to the formal agenda, I did have apologies from Gwyl, but I've seen him online, so welcome, Gwyl. Are there any other apologies from members that we know of? No, assume people will be joining us as the meeting goes. So starting with the minutes from the previous meeting. So I've got two sets of minutes this time. So firstly from the 19th of December, firstly for accuracy. Proposed, seconder, Tim, all those in favour? Yep. Perfect. So I'll sign those in a moment. And then moving on to the minutes from the 30th of January, firstly, any matters of accuracy? Okay.
Abstain.
Yep. Okay, all those in favour? Okay. Perfect.
I'm abstaining.
That's fine, Rosemary, no problem. Moving on to item 3, declarations of interest. I'll take these as read unless anyone's got any further declarations they wish to make. No. Item 4, public question time. Mr. Orr has withdrawn his public statement. Apparently he had sufficient answers at corporate resources scrutiny yesterday. So if that can be removed from the record. Moving on to item 5, which is the Somerset Council Statement of Accounts 23/4 and the external audit report, including the AGS for 23/24. So who's presenting this? Maria, Ben?
I'll do a quick introduction.
Yeah, thanks, Maria.
Thank you very much, through you, Chair. We have the 2023-24 Statement of Accounts here for Somerset Council. This is the first combined Statement of Accounts for the Unitary Authority, and it's an incredible job that the team have done to produce this set of accounts. Unfortunately, due to the government backstop dates, we are in a position where these accounts are being disclaimed this time round, and this is an unfortunate but national position for lots of local authorities. This is the first set of disclaimed accounts, and I would expect this to be the last set of disclaimed accounts as we're moving forward, given that the recovery position of the audit is now moving forward into a different place. You find here the external auditors report. I'm going to hand over to a member of my team who will introduce the report, and then we'll hand over to the external auditors. But it's a tremendous effort to get here and to be in this position, and we will be producing the statement of accounts for 24/25 according to the new timetable, and working with our external auditors to do everything that we can to ensure that they are audited in a timely fashion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. A really good summary. Thank you for that. And actually, that provides a lot of the context that the committee would have received a briefing document from me, just to give some of that national context. Where does Somerset sit in amongst that national picture, which is very much in the group? A lot of authorities backstopped, and then I think, as you pointed out, new finance system and the unitary position as well. So although also officers are disappointed, we have worked hard, and there is some good work that has been done. You've highlighted a few, if I just repeat them, if you don't mind. So we have that sound opening balance position for this unitary authority. I don't think we should underestimate that we're talking just about 23/24. We did produce 23/24 accounts. Some councils haven't. The limited audit work that has been done, although that isn't enough to form an opinion, and we have got that disclaimed opinion now coming forward, it's important that grounding work that's been done. There's been some system and process walkthrough reviews. It helps a lot of that planning, validating those opening balances, etc. So work has been done, and that will stand us in good stead in some of that planning moving forward. And then I'm sat here taking the thanks, but actually it's the team. You've got Paul Griffin, one of the chief accountants online, and others that work together to have done that. Just moving into the audit findings report, there are 3 recommendations in there. Firstly, the journals one is, should I read out the page number? Sorry.
That would be really helpful, Ben, if you could read the page numbers. I think it's page 27 you're looking for, is that?
So I'm looking in the agenda document. It's page 37.
37. Oh no, we've not got another page numbering issue. It's always a nightmare when people are on different page numbers.
Page 5 of the auditors annual report, which on the agenda document public back is page
so it's page 27 on the published copy that I've got. Is that what you've got, Norman? Yep. So starting in the bottom section, journal entry process. Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Ben.
So that's the first recommendation there around journals. So this is, for those of you used to being on this committee, is that continuous and historical finding. So this is very much focused on the internal movements, not external cash movement. So hence that risk being low and put as marked as a low priority. We are looking at the D365 functionality around having approval on journals. And we're moving forward with some of the processes that we can put in place, but we need to consider the time and cost implications of having officers having to also secondary approve something that has already been approved and also has budget monitoring checks and other controls that we have in place. But it's something that we keep on our radar with the new system that does allow that to happen. The next finding on the following page around this one's focused around housing revenue account recommendations, but actually I take that as a wider recommendation about interface reconciliations. So we went live with a new interface dashboard last week. So from my perspective,
You okay, Simon? Yeah.
From my perspective, I can see at a snapshot now that files coming in from subsystems into Dynamics, that they're all fully loaded, they're fully successful, and I can see that, and the team can then alert where that doesn't happen. We do have reconciliations in place. The reconciliation that's recommended there is for more regularity than once a year. So I've now got a follow-up piece of work off the dashboard that is having business owners and the regularity increased against those. So that's something that I've got in flight from last week. The final recommendation on the opening balances, this was around the use of dimensions and coding. So D365 has the helpful functionality of doing more than just cost center and main account, which is usually your subjective analysis. It allows you to do further coding. We predominantly use that to be able to complete the whole of government accounts more effectively. So I've noted the recommendation. We are scheduling in a review of how effective the dimensions are. Actually, we've got quite a few. Do we really need them all? Are we using them as we should do? And where we should be using them, I will get issued reminder guidance about what the best practice is there. Moving through to the following page that starts around adjusted misstatement disclosure, 1 to 5 noted there. The first one that's titled Local Government Reorganisation Opening Balances is a simple classification of long and short term. So if you're borrowing for long term and then it becomes due within 1 year, you should technically, it's still long term borrowing, but classified as short term. So as we brought the balances together, we've missed that one of the long terms have now become short term. And the auditors have spotted that and we've adjusted for that in the accounts that you see in front of you. Number 2 on the findings, this just relates to really about giving further transparency, splitting out some of the descriptions further. The same, number 3, investment properties, about how we reclassify and present things between assets held for sale, to and from, further transparency, and that's been adjusted for. And on to number 5, which moves into the following page. A number of minor disclosures updates, which we've accepted and updated in the narrative report that Maria will be signing. There is a number 6 finding that the auditors haven't spotted. So as part of our 24-25 preparations that we've done, and in a review of the valuations that we expect to be undertaking in this year's sets of accounts, and through some of those reconciliations, we've spotted that we applied a valuation to an asset within investment properties We've then spotted that the asset was split into two. There was a land and a building element. We've applied the whole valuation to the building, and there was left over 1.7 million of land. That valuation we received was a total site valuation, and therefore the valuation should have split between the two. Actually, what we're doing now is combining the two assets together, so that doesn't happen again. What that does do, though, is it shows that we're doing the right reconciliations now, ready for the 24-25, but we're making sure that we're putting in stronger reconciliations against the valuer's reports to make sure that doesn't happen. Moving out of the auditor's report, just to note an agenda publication error, if I might, Chair. The letter of management representation, which was Appendix 4, had an upload error. I'm not sure quite what's gone wrong, but as the agenda's been uploaded, it's reverted the document back to an older version. Within the opening sentence, it talks about our group account arrangements, and we've included now SSDC Opium Power within that group boundary context to go with the two farums that are in there. That is in the circulation, Chair, that you've received for signature. So it was all part of there, but for some reason in the upload it errored. That will be part of the final sign-off that we will have. And a spot by Councillor Liz Lation, thank you, Liz, around Jason Vaughan, our prior Section 151 officer. His job title within the pension fund section of the accounts referenced him as director rather than executive director, so we will make that change. Just to close from me, Chair, the public inspection period that is currently underway closes on this Thursday the 27th. So although you have in front of you a draft auditor's opinion, which is one of disclaimed, as we've already mentioned, it's proper to wait for that inspection period to close before the auditors issue their formal opinion, just in case there's anything that needs addressing. This is an odd scenario because the auditors have got a disclaimed opinion. Any other commentary coming forward, the opinion is unlikely to be changed, but it's challenged to whether the audit process can close. So therefore, we need to wait for that on Thursday to close. The recommendation to the committee then, Chair, if you will, is to have delegated approval to yourself and Vice alongside Maria, our interim Section 151 officer, to approve and complete the records on Friday. Friday is also the backstop date, so very much pressure on closing the public inspection on Thursday, receiving the documentation and signatures on Friday. We will publish and we will comply within the backstop dates.
Ben, can I just ask what the position is if a member of the public were to raise an objection to the public inspection? Is that going to cause us any problems with closing the backstop date?
Could I defer to the auditors, Chair, if you don't mind? Thank you.
So we would be required to look at that objection, see if it is a valid objection. So it would be unlikely that we could give the opinion on Friday if that was the case.
So where does that leave us from a statutory position? Because the backstop date is in regulations, isn't it?
So objections is one of the caveats to that. So we do have a number that are outstanding for that reason. So you would just need to publish something on your website to state that that was the delay.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. So members, open to the floor for questions, comments. Andy?
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question. Normally on the audit report, would you look at more of the misstatements when you do the audits? Because there's like 4 items which they're saying that this is non-audit work, but do you normally just show all the audit work that you did, looking at all the when you obviously have a whole list of audits you look at, and basically if there's a misstatement, if the journal was done wrong, then you normally present information. Is there more information on that you can give us? Thank you.
So we would normally present everything that's above our triviality level as an adjustment in our audit findings report. This looks a little bit different because we've done limited amount of work. The limited adjustments are just from the work that we've done on opening balances and just an initial review of the accounts. We would obviously expect more if we'd done a full audit of all of the balances. So that's why it looks a bit different this year to what you're used to in our audit findings report.
So you haven't done a really detailed audit then of the accounts?
No, so we haven't done anything on the in-year balances or the closing position. We've just focused on the opening balance, and that's why we've got a disclaimed opinion for 23-24.
Not going to be any more audit work done on this then? So is it actually closed now? So when we do the 24-25, there'll be more in-depth look at the figures?
Yes, so subject to the accounts being delivered on time for 24-25, we'll be doing a full audit of the 24-25 financial year, and we're currently looking at if we can do any work on 23-24 going forward. That is subject on guidance still coming out from the centre and our regulators, and also the resource on both our side and also the council side to be able to facilitate that. But 24-25 will be subject to a full audit.
I could just come back. So therefore, when you do the 24-25, if you then sort of go and do detailed audit work, you may find some of the opening balances may not have been done correct. Would you look at that in the sense that sometimes you don't see it, you don't notice a mistake until a year, 18 months down the line, you're doing something and it pops out? Would that come up then?
So that would depend on if we go back and audit the 23-24 opening balance as part of next year's audit. So if we do that, then yes, it could be likely that there's misstatements coming out of it, but that will depend on how we work to regain the assurance. Otherwise, the opening balance position will remain disclaimed 24-25.
Okay, members, other comments or questions? Rosemary? Mike.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm taking a bit to catch up because my hearing aids gave up. But can I make a request about the way you present what's sent to us to look at? Because what you've got is a cut and paste document which keeps repeating. So you've got 400 pages, but there's not 400 pages of information there. It keeps repeating, and you can see that. I thought it showed that very well on the glossary, because I think that's repeated through the paper. And
I think that's probably the annual governance statement, Rosemary.
yeah, well, that's what I'm looking at.
Okay, that's fine.
Sorry, I couldn't hear what was going on earlier because my hearing aids gave up.
No, that's fine. I mean, I think we're going to come on to the annual governance statement
in a minute. But
so
I'll make that comment then.
That's absolutely fine, Rosemary. Thank you. So specifically on the audit and the accounts, Diogo?
So, Chair, you know I'm still very new to audit, so I just want to understand it a bit better. The section where you mentioned about matters in relation to the group audit, can someone just explain that a bit further for me to understand what should be done and what's not been done and how that affects this?
So I'm sure Ben will be able to give us a precise answer, but it sounds like some of the commercial subsidiaries, so SSDC, Opium Power, Ferrum, which are the three battery storage sites, weren't accurately reflected in the group accounts. Is that right, Ben? I misstated that.
Yeah, so reference to the adjustment that I talked to is defined to the letter of management representation, which is Appendix 4. So everything's accounted for correctly. There's no question in those bits there. It's an omission in the statement that when we issue a letter to the auditors about what we've provided, what they reviewed, it includes the group account of SSDC Opium Power, along with the two Ferrum sites, as you say, Chair, the three coming to the battery storage. So it's just an omission of text to say that we've also provided for the group accounts.
Do you want to follow up?
Yeah, but why is it omitted? Sorry, I've obviously missed something so simple that I've not understood.
So we write a letter of representation to the auditors. That letter of representation for Maria sets out the governance has been followed, that we comply with our regulations. Within there, what have we presented? We presented a single entity group accounts for the Somerset Council as well as its groups. We list out the groups in the opening paragraph that relate to us. The omission then we added SSDC Opium Power as one of our groups. When we've uploaded that document to the internet, for some reason it reverted back, took that text out. So it didn't show as a complete record of the groups that we were submitting for. That is in the main document that will be signed, and that is a letter that goes to the auditors to say this is a complete record of our accounts. Okay.
Okay. Open to any further questions? No. Grace, I would just like to understand a little bit more about the recovery plan for the audit assurance then. So, as you say, you're going to start on the 4-5 accounts as soon as this one's out of the way. I'm assuming that's going to require extra work in, I suppose technically, where are we now? Are we in 5-6? No, we're not quite in 5-6 yet, but extra work next year effectively to recover the assurance position. So what does that look like? Is it going to require any additional input from audit committee? Are you confident that the resources are in place to help you deliver? Is there anything that we can do to support?
Thank you. So the planning work for 24-25 is already ongoing. So the way that we approached the 23-24 when we knew that we'd have a disclaimed opinion is to focus on the areas that would save us in the future. So that's why we focused on the opening balances and the things that were unique to the first year of the council, such as the new system implementation, just knowing that then that will make the position easier to recover. We've also done cash, and there's a lot of the planning steps that we've done, because we've done them so recently, we can use them for 24-25, which is a saving as well. It's still a big question mark about how the recovery is working. So we are still waiting for guidance from National Audit Office, FRC. There's a group that's currently working through that at the moment of what that looks like. Obviously, you're in the fortunate position that you've just got the 1 year. They're also working through, obviously, many councils that have several years of disclaimed opinions, and how does that work out? So I think there's probably 3 caveats, really. It's the accounts being published in line with the legislation, which is the end of June this year, resource being available both on your side and our side to be able to do that additional work, and the guidance that is yet to come out. So we are doing what we can in terms of trying to get that planning uploaded, but there is quite a lot of uncertainty at the moment of whether that will happen.
Appreciate that. So let's just pick up the publication of the 4-5 statement of accounts then. Ben, are we confident that we'll be able to hit the auditors' deadline? Is there anything that you foresee as preventing that?
No, we're resourcing the team, and it's one of the finance priorities to firstly go through closing. Closing produces our out-term report, as well as then allows the accountants to get on and close for the statement of accounts. And we're targeting everything as a priority for the end of June.
Great, because I know we've had issues previously with resourcing for closed down accountants. Has that now been resolved?
Nicola and I are in conversation, and we're looking at already trying to bring in closed down accountants in preparation for before we get there.
Perfect, thank you. I'm sure there's something else I was going to ask off the back of that, but Andy's going to come in and...
You just said you're going to bring in accountants to do the closed down. You don't do it in-house then?
Yes, we do it in-house. We've got very qualified and experienced staff, as you've experienced with the number of accounts they've gone through. It's one of capacity, knowing that we've got the 2 years of accounts to close down. We're doing those additional checks, as you've seen with the valuation report, things like that. What we're trying to do is keep building on the certainty from the 23-24 that hasn't been audited, that you would have taken the reliance from, and making sure that we're getting all the checks and reconciliations in place. So it's about bringing in capacity for the team to be able to, I don't know if I can say it this way, but in effect catch up, because we're so late with 23-24 that to start 24-25 the team would have usually started a few months ago. So Nikki and Maria are working with me in terms of bringing in additional capacity to try and get us ahead and bring more certainty to the accounts that we will produce at the end of June.
Maria?
Just to add, I've also requested that we have the accounts ready before the end of June, so that we've got a quality assurance period of time as well. So that's why we're resourcing it in a slightly different way, because we want to ensure that the accounts are produced earlier than the deadline. They're quality assured, so that when I sign them, you have assurance, I have assurance.
If you're pleased to know, remember what my next question was, Grace, which was around the national guidance. So I'm assuming that the National Audit Office and Financial Reporting Council and others are aware of the pressing need to get this guidance out so that councils can start to recover their positions.
Yes, I'd hope so. There's currently a sandbox, they're calling it, in place, which is where all of the audit firms and all of the people in the sector are getting together to work through their ideas. We're actively engaged in that as the biggest supplier for public sector. So we're putting our view across of how we think we can best do this, but also maintaining the quality of the audit. So yeah, that's ongoing, and we just await guidance from that, really. But like you said, time is ticking, and obviously the backstop for next year is the end of February again. So we don't want to be in the same position where late decisions are made, really.
And just to provide clarity for all of us, assuming that the guidance comes out, assuming we can hit our deadlines to get the statement of accounts produced, what sort of time frame are we looking at to recover assurance? Is it 1 year? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? What's the current best guess? And I won't hold you to it, but it's just to have some idea about what we're looking at.
So it's a minimum of 3 years, because you have the opening position, and then you have the comparative, and then the opening of the comparative. So it's a minimum of that, if you can then regain assurance for the balances as you go forward. So yeah, minimum of 3 years if no work was done on 23-24 closing position.
Okay, that's helpful. Right, any other questions for the auditors or finance team on this section of the report? No. Right, so we'll move on to the, I suppose the AGS is the next element. So, Alice, I guess this is your baby for this meeting, is it? Or Scott?
Not me.
Not you.
Very
Okay.
Chair, in terms of the author of the AGS.
Okay, so I'm going to be. You probably throw things at me in a minute, but in terms of the AGS documents, they're pretty standard in terms of the content. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Again, they are in terms of certainly practice, in terms of what they cover. I think the key point I would highlight to the committee is the committee's already seen the draft AGS at the end of August last year. Yeah. Essentially what has happened since then is now we have the benefit of the external auditors AAR. We have then used the external auditors AAR to effectively update the draft AGS that the committee supported back in August. So effectively what you now have within the final statement of accounts is the final version of the AGS, and the only changes to that version are effectively incorporating the 2 strategy recommendations together with the various improvement recommendations that were identified by our external auditors, and essentially that is the updates to the AGS.
Great, thanks. So any comments or questions for Scott or the rest of the team on this section of the report? Taking Rosemary's point about the nature of the document, the fact that it's quite repetitive.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, I find if we're going to get everything repeated, can you put something in there to say that you're repeating everything? That saves us. We look at 400 pages and we go, mainly. Not that we mind reading 400 pages, but I can't see the point when they're just cut and paste. I don't cut and paste. I started to cut and paste with my brain because I thought, I've read this before. I'm sure I've read this before, but I didn't hang on to everything that was put in twice. Or it's 7 times, 5 to 7 times, quite a lot of times, because every time it changed its nature, it put it in again. And I'm thinking, do I need to read this again? And it's not that I mind reading loads of stuff, but if we had some sort of different colour at the back of the document, That would help, so that when it comes in twice, you know that it's come in twice. Right, thank you.
I think we need to look and see how we're producing our documents and see how we can streamline them where possible. Given the statement of accounts and the annual governance statement, they're quite prescriptive in what needs to be included, so we will do our best. But I wanted just to say that on the AGS, I think the action plan that is appended with as Annex 1, I think is incredibly important, and I will draw members' attention to that, because those are the actions that we need to fulfil, so that we're not in a position where the same actions, same issues are outstanding in the annual governance statement for 24-25. We've got, you know, the best part of 5 weeks to go in this financial year in order to be.
Page number.
No. Somebody else needs to give the page number. I'm looking at the actual document. Apologies. 127? 327. So I think the point that I'm trying to make is that we need to implement these actions before you see this document in June. So as many as we can, so that we remove them as annual governance issues.
And that's a standing theme, I think, for Audit Committee going forward, is about the pace that we can implement the recommendations that come from different counterparties. But I would like to just raise a quick question with you over, I think it's page 93. There's a little diagram at the top of page 93, which says Somerset Council High Level Officer Governance alongside Democratic Governance Framework. It's a little set of green boxes. Page 56 of the report, page 93 in our agenda pack. So we've got scrutiny and executive on here. Are we another committee, or can we be our own little box? Because audit does have an important and different role as part of the overall governance framework of the.
Effectively, yes. I mean, the audit committee fits under the box headed up other committees. That's principally for brevity, because you appreciate there are multiple committees of the council.
Okay. Habib.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quickie, in terms of AGS, do we have the right tool in place, and how do we actually tackle the area of non-compliance? What lessons are learned? Especially in areas of contractual management, how do we go ahead for the future years? I'm quite interested in procurement. How do we actually tackle that? Thank you.
Liz, would you like to answer that?
I would, if I may, Chair. Thank you very much. So as lead member for resources, procurement and performance, I would say over the last few months, we have moved ahead on how we report, particularly through this audit committee. I think we've made some good progress, particularly on waivers and breaches, which you know come to this committee as a confidential paper. But the progress we've made is very welcome to me. I now have regular conversations with Paul Hughes, who's my kind of first point of contact after Maria and Nicola regarding procurement. And I feel, as I mentioned yesterday at scrutiny, where we're now reporting environments, I think under our current interim Section 151 officer, we have made a lot of improvements. I'm expecting us to make more, and I welcome them all. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thanks then. So any final questions on the AGS before we move forward? Rosemary?
Yeah, I hope I'm on the right part now, but in the document on page 197, I put it down as, and these page numbers seem to be all over the place, but it said that there wasn't a report about historic valuations. So the value of what we've got in our museums wasn't in this report. Is that right?
Hang on one sec, sorry.
My question after that is, if it's not in here, if we have a 114 imposed on us, does it mean that all our assets get taken up by whoever comes in? So if we lose that argument, does whoever comes in and runs the council have power to sell off a lot of the assets that aren't listed here?
Liz, did you want to come in on that?
Yes, if I may, Chair. I'm on page 157 or 204, depending on which set you're on. But the South West Heritage Trust is referenced in this paper. So you'll know that the South West Heritage Trust was set up some time ago, works all across Somerset, holds the historic assets for Somerset Council, and also for some other areas as well, and such organisations as the Archaeological Society and Glastonbury Antiquarians. There are huge collections there, and I'm sure Maria, as 151, will reference what was in the minister's letter that came out on the 20th of February.
Thank you.
So in terms of a section, should a section 114 notice be issued, and anyone that was paying attention to the meeting yesterday at Corporate and Resources Scrutiny, we are not in that position because we've set a balanced, robust legal budget that is being recommended using exceptional financial support of a 2.5% additional council tax increase above the referendum threshold and 43 million of exceptional financial support in a capitalisation direction, just for the avoidance of doubt. So we are not currently in a section 114 notice period. So in the event that we were, the minister in the letter that we received, that's also published under Annex A1 of Appendix A in the budget report, but also in the Section 25 statement, asked us to have regard to heritage assets when we are looking at selling any assets off in terms of capital receipts to finance the capitalisation direction. And the actual wording is within that letter. So we will need to ensure that we are following the conditions that have been set aside in the letter. Otherwise, we will not be able to access the capitalisation direction. So we need to ensure that we understand and we follow what's been asked of us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any final questions on the AGS before we move on? So I guess it's only the letter of rep now, is it, for the council and the pension fund? Is that all that's outstanding? So I need to ask members if you've got any questions on the letter of rep, first of all, for either the council or the pension fund. No, stunned silence.
Just check that when you sign it, that you're signing the one where the first paragraph has got the correct name of the group of companies. I'm sure you'll look at that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm sure officers will keep me on the straight and narrow there. So members, that leads me to try and resolve the debate on this item, which seeks delegated approval for the chair and or vice chair of the committee and the 151 officer to use delegated approval to sign the letter of rep for the council and the letter of rep for the pension fund, and to approve the revised set of accounts. Can I get?
Do you have a page number for that?
So it's on page 25, I believe, Rosemary.
Of the earlier bit.
No, it's not on 25 of mine. Yeah, it's page 15.
What number was it?
Page 15 of the agenda pack as published. So at the
Decisions report.
yeah, at the bottom of page 15, it says recommendations. So
What we're
one
asked to sign.
A to C initially. In fact, we may as well just take all
Take
three
all
on
together.
block.
Yeah.
So recommendations 1 to 3. Andy,
Recommend it.
fine.
Propose, I mean,
Second
At
it.
the beginning.
Yeah,
Okay.
page 16 of document.
Is everyone clear on where we're at the moment?
Recommendations.
Yeah, yeah, I found those.
Yeah. All right.
Found those.
Yeah, that's all split.
Yeah.
It goes over 25 and 26.
Yeah. So in my agenda pack, it's page 15 and 16, but it could be on 25 or 26. Everyone happy to take them on block? We've got a proposal. We've got a seconder. All those in favour? So Andy's proposing, I'm seconding. All those in favour? Any abstentions? 1, 2, 3, and any voting against? No. So that's fine. We'll take approval to take those actions. Okay, thank you, everyone. Right, and usually this takes me to item 6, which is the audit committee work plan, which is agenda pack 423 on my pack, and I couldn't tell you which it is on yours. Oh, it's actually 413 on my pack. Okay, so this is what we got coming up. So our next meeting is the 20th of March, and we've got the external audit plan for the Somerset Council, strategic risk report, progress against the interim annual auditor's report, internal audit plan progress report, internal audit plan and charter. In fact, Alistair, did you want to say, because you wrote out to the committee, didn't you, asking for items for the annual audit plan? Do you want to say anything at this point about that, or not?
Yeah, just to say thank you to the audit committee members that did reply to me on that, on your views of potential areas for coverage in next year's audit plan. So I have got those, and I'll take those into consideration for our risk-based audit plan. So you should see some of those in the plan that's presented in March.
Thank you. So are members happy to note the work plan?
Chair. So,
Noted.
sorry, Chair. I don't think you need item 9, which is Somerset Council 23-24 external audit finding report.
We're on next.
We're on the last but one page, I believe, Norman, which should be
Page 425.
425 or 415, depending on what pack you're on. Okay, that's fine. Are members happy to note the audit?
Yeah.
The audit work plan?
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay, by my reckoning, then that takes us to the end of the meeting. There is cake available. Please help yourself. If you've got other meetings to get off to, then we'll understand. Please take something for the road. Thank you all, and see you in March.